Live off deep in the holler. Drive out to one of my backwoods spots to go camping. 3 hours into 5-hour hike before I reached my camping spot. Nice day, fresh air, clear skies, occasional animal noises in the distance. Getting that oneness feel with nature. Hear some rustling up a hill off the path I'm treading. It's a frigging dude, he's stumbling down the hill. He's walking funny, like a puppet on strings walk. Very weird looking. My memory kicks in. There were no other cars parked in the offshoot that leads to the forest trail I'm treading. We are on the edge of frigging nowhere. There's is nothing out there for hundreds of miles from the direction he came from. It's just frigging forests. That's when he started to laugh and called out, "Hello there." That's when I unholstered my gun. This dude stumbles onto the trail. He has a real jovial demeanor about him. I rack the slide. Gen 1 SNWMNP, no safety. He waves as he walks towards me on the trail. I aim at this guy and yell, "That's close enough." The dude is completely unfazed with me pointing a gun at him. He just keeps laughing and waving. Weird ass gait to his walk, almost serpentine swivel to his legs, but his body didn't move right, like puppet strings were moving him. It was uncanny as hell. I've heard enough stories about things in the woods from /x/ and other places to know how this shit goes down. I will frigging kill you. I am not messing around. I say this really fast and loud. If there is any semblance of sanity in this creature, I want them to know they will soon be ventilated. Undeterred, he keeps wiggle walking towards me. This is after I've pointed a gun at him and threatened to shoot this mother lover. I can clearly discern his facial features. He looked normal enough. You'd be forgiven for mistaking him for human for sure if it wasn't for that weird ass walk. He was wearing a sweater and jeans. Just a regular dude by any other account. Said dude is less than 10 meters away at this point, and he continues with the laugh and disjointed conversation starters. "It's nice to meet ye." Internal monologue goes screw it, and I dump 5 or 6 rounds of .40 into this guy. I pause for a moment because he stops walking after those shots. I think I hit him. He wasn't bleeding though. He didn't scream or wince or nothing. He just stood there. Then he falls. He settles in an awkward position like his joints and bones aren't connected right. It's like someone put human together without knowing how skeletal structure works. Swear to God. Crinkleman, contorted into a mess of shapes on the trail floor, zipped off like a goddamn bird and disappears into the underbrush. I hear a rapid pitter-patter of steps that gradually fade into the frigging woods with twigs and branches snapping as Crinkleman gets further away. I noped out of there hard. It was already 2:30 and by 4:30 it's gonna be getting dark in the forest. Or darker than I'd feel comfortable being with Crinkleman out there. On the spot, I dumped my tent, sleeping bag, and everything. I was okay just leaving there because I needed to turn a 3-hour hike into 1 hour and 30-minute hike. There was no frigging way I was going to get caught in the forest after dark with a goddamn Crinkleman wiggle walking up to my ass. Screw that. With the bare essentials on my person, I double-timed it back the way I came. Luckily it was mostly downhill, so I wasn't fighting gravity like when I came up. I took care not to run too fast because if I twisted my ankle or fell and hurt myself, I knew I would be well and truly doomed if Crinkleman was creeping around. At 3:45 the sun was already starting not to show through the trees as much. A slight panic had started to get into me, but I remained calm and kept with my brisk pace. I got back to my car at goddamn 4:20. I looked back into the forest and apparently my eyes had adjusted to it because it was dark as hell. 20 meters back into it and the shadows just created a cave-like darkness into the nethers of the underbrush. Got in my car and got the hell out of there. I don't know what that thing was, but it wasn't going to be wearing my skin. I don't know if that thing is still out there, but I don't camp in that neck of the woods now. I'm not going back for my tent or other kit. It's just not worth it for that stretch of woods. Every time. Too many bears, mosquitoes and, redacted, in my area. David's data indicates armed hunters, especially those with GPS transponders, are molested the least by weird shit. Did a bear population reduction thing a few years ago. 308 was pretty effective, usually 1 to 2 shots with expanding bullets. Plus 1 to the skull to make sure. Doing bear removal. Nearing dusk, just dark enough to have a night vision. Returning to camp. Walking tree line next to field with 8 feet grass/brush. Hear something barreling right for us through the grass. Random small black bear comes into tree line, sees us and turns directly for us. Bang! Knocked black bear down about 35 feet away. About to start walking towards it for kill shot, hear something bigger coming. Huge frigging brown bear out of nowhere, grabs black bear and drags it screaming into the grass. We could hear the black bear being eaten alive for about 10 minutes. Pretty sure the black bear was running to us for protection. Very spooky, and the black bear was mostly devoured in the morning. They don't like the smell of silver. Interesting pasta. I about shit a brick and turned dead white the first time I heard a tree knock 30 miles upriver. Middle of nowhere. Always pay attention to that feeling of being watched or your hair starts standing up. Keep a deep respect for bears, they can move quietly when they want to. Big, soft feet. What stretch of woods? I'd go for that free tent. If you can go to the edge of the world, you'll find a spot to park your car along the way where the road ends, I'm sure. Peek around that spot and you'll see a path into the woods. Follow it and let it take you where it will. If you follow the path, it'll eventually take you to this lake. That was my original destination before Crinkleman intervened. The path to the lake isn't a beeline, and don't try to turn it into one. The trees will blend together and the forest will swallow you up if you stray from it, so stay the hell on that path. I didn't try to hide my shit away, so if you don't come across it, there's a good chance someone got to the stash before you. That was about 3 years ago now. If it is still there, the weather might have worn it down a bit, but maybe you can salvage something. The path might branch a bit. If you encounter the 3 ponds, you're gone too far south. Where's the stash? I was in a panic when I ditched it, so I don't recall the exact location. Somewhere around here maybe? I know that doesn't seem that far, but the path winds up and down around hills and shit, and it'll lead all around. Before I ran into Crinkleman, I'd say the lake made for a good camping spot, but now, well, good luck, stalker. I didn't think of it as a bad place before I ran into Crinkleman. Whatever's in that gully can stay there as far as I'm concerned. Are you still in AK? Not anymore. I have some friends who still live up there, but they're up in Anchorage. You may have to recruit a local guide to get you clothes. I see a trail on the north side of the creek/valley that gets a little closer to the lake and higher up. Speaking of guides, a local native, some admix of a mutt from old Haida blood, had told me when I was scouting out the location some 5 years ago to be mindful of waterways north of the bridge. I reckon he meant this particularly spot. Maybe the old guy just liked telling ghost stories, but basically, he talked about forest spirits disappearing people who venture off in that location, and that for my safety I should stay on the south side of the ridge and avoid those creeks and waterways to the north if at all possible. I figured he meant there were bears and bull mooses up there, but I never ventured on that side of the ridge, so I never peeked to find out. You're saying there's another on the south side, after the bridge? Bear to the left on the 4xable portion and park at the end where the hill flattens on the south side of the valley? Something like that. You may have to scout the area for a little while, but you'll come across an opening in the forest. It should go without saying, but animals made that trail, so there's a decent chance you may encounter some when you go down said trail, some friendly, some not. Maybe even a crypto freak like Crinkleman. Whatever happens, be prepared for a fight, and remember, there's nothing else out there once you go down that path but you and the wilderness. Unless you see someone else parked up there, you're the only human in that part of the world. Maybe I wandered too far north at some point and angered the spirits. After Crinkleman, living up there didn't feel the same. I couldn't enjoy the forests like I used to, at least up in AK.